Welcome, friends, to stream number 30. Unbelievable how far we have come in learning so many things, and that this is the 30th stream. So, today I'll be learning metadata and URL docs. Rather, we shall be learning. Okay, so I actually turned every video in this stream into a playlist. So, for those who are watching this for the first time, you can go to that playlist and check through it. But yeah, we're almost close to getting done with the entire tutorial. If you look at this, we basically have, if I can come back, we have about a few topics, okay? If you start from static files, testing, and debugging, okay? So today we'll be studying metadata and docs URL. So about 3 more topics, and then next week I should be able to start building that application, and then yeah, maybe creating tutorials, recorded tutorials on other concepts in FastAPI. Okay, so yeah, I'll be doing that, and you'll see so many things. Actually, as I build a project, that project involves building the backend, then consuming the backend using the front end. It involves going extra mile as doing things involving Docker, Kafka, Kubernetes. Let me say DevOps. Okay, in general, using things like Kafka, Kubernetes, what else? Docker, AWS, okay, Ansible, GitHub Actions. So it's going to be full backend with the DevOps. When we are done with it and it's complete, then we make the front end to consume it. Yeah, and we'll do amazing stuff. So a real full project. This is something I wanted to be doing for a long time, and I don't mind doing it in public for everybody to see, so that yeah, you learn from what I'm building, okay? And also I get to learn also in public and share what I can do and share my knowledge. And of course, you guys can also share my knowledge with me. I mean, you can share your knowledge with me. So let's study what I have to study today, what we have to study today. So this page says the topic is metadata and docs URL. It says you can customize several metadata configurations in your FastAPI application. Metadata for API. You can set the following fields that are used in the OpenAPI specification and the automatic API docs UIs. Okay, so if you may be wondering what's metadata, metadata just simply means information about data or data about data. Okay, so we're going to be looking at data about the docs and URLs and etc. Let us say that I appreciate as I will learn a lot. Yeah, we'll learn together actually, Linus. We shall be learning together. Just like you've been seeing me here trying out learning FastAPI from the very first stream, okay? Very first stream, zero knowledge about FastAPI, and we've learned together, okay? So when I'll be building the application, it will be the first API project I build, okay? So we shall learn together and search the web in real time. Where we need to use AI, we shall use AI, okay? Make the results of AI change. Actually, today I was working on something. Maybe I can show you guys briefly. I don't know if I can find it quickly. Here it is. You see, it was it's in Django. This is not first, it is in Django, and I prompted AI to do something, okay? But I've been changing so many things in this project, okay, that now I wonder whether it is worth to use AI, okay? I've been changing the code AI wrote. I came here into selectors. I changed some things. Here, serializers, I changed some things. Okay. I've kept on tweaking things left and right. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It took like a minute for me to get the code from AI, but it has taken me longer to debug it. I need a certain, not even to debug, but to make it the way I want it to be. And yeah, I'm still going to have to make some changes. Okay. So let's say, by the way, let's continue. So you're saying you can set the following fields that are used in the OpenAPI specification and the automatic API docs. So we have the parameter, the type, and the description. Okay. So we have title. Okay. The type is a string. description, the title of the API. We have a summary, which is a string, and the description is that it is a short summary of the API, and this has been available since OpenAPI 3.1.0 and in FastAPI 0.99.0. Another parameter is the description, which is a string, and it's a short description of the API, and this one can use Markdown. Okay, Markdown is like that syntax we use when we are creating readme.md files. Then the other parameter is the version, which is a string, and it's saying the version of the API. This is the version of your own application, not of OpenAPI. For example, 2.5.0. So the version of the API, not the version of our, or what it means, the version of our application which we are building, not the version of OpenAPI. Say terms of service, okay? So it's a string, says a URL to the terms of service for the API. If provided, this has to be a URL. Contact is a dictionary, okay? They're saying the contact information for the exposed API, it contains the several fields, okay? So when you open the contacts fields, we see that we have also parameter type and description. So under contact, we have the name, okay, which is a string, and the description says the identifying name of the contact person or organization. Then the URL, which is a string, they're saying the URL pointing to the contact information must be in the format of a URL. Email, okay, which is a string, they say the URL, the email address of the contact person or organization must be in the format of an email address. Okay, so yeah, take note of this. I guess this is very easy to understand. So if we come here, they say you can set them as follows. Okay, this works in Python 3.8 and above. So they import FastAPI from FastAPI, and then we have a description. Can you read this? Is it Chimichang app? API helps you do awesome things. Then they have Markdown. Okay, second, a title, so you can read, and this is in bold, I guess. Another title, you'll be able to, these are now bullets, okay, but these I think are bold. Okay, so this is the description. Remember, it is up here. They say the parameter, this is a short description of the API, and it can use Markdown. So see this title, these 2 pounds or hash symbols are for Markdown. Even these 2 pounds are for Markdown, and these 2 asterisks here, okay, also Markdown, and also this single asterisk and a space, then the 2 is still Markdown. So when you come here to FastAPI, they say title equals to Chimichang app, description equals to this string here, summary, okay, they're saying the deposit favorite app, version, the version of our app, terms of service. Remember, they told us it must point to an actual address. Then we have a contact, and they told us contact is a dictionary which has a number of fields, okay, name, URL, email, okay. So they put the name, URL, email. These things look simple, but very important. Then they have the license information, which is also a dictionary. They showed us up here. This is a dictionary, and then it has also the name, and it has the URL. Okay. Then yeah, it's simply a basic path operation function. At this point, everybody who has been following, who has watched the past, who has learned with me in the past 29 streams, should be able to answer this. Okay. After that, they say you can write Markdown in the description field, and it will be rendered in the output. But I want to see this. Let's copy this. Then I paste it right here. Yeah, our server is still running. Our server is still running, so I need to go back to the browser. Where's the browser? Okay. Today I've lost a number of things. Where's the browser? Okay, it's right here. So docs, if I refresh, there we are. Okay, so I think we see now the importance of this whole thing. Okay, so we have the Chimichang app. Okay, as the title. Then we have the API.json. Okay, this is nice. Let me click on it and see what happens. Okay, let me see what happens. This is just JSON, okay, of the whole thing. But if I delete it, we have now the description of the app. Then you see, if you look at this, okay, this markdown, okay, I told you these £2 refer to a title, then these are the £2 refer to the another title. Okay, so two titles, items and users. And if I go to the browser here, I say I get items and users, then the rest of the stuff. Okay, so if I scroll, you see you can write markdown in the description field and it will be rendered in the output. With this configuration, the automatic API docs would look like. Okay, we have seen that. Then they go on to the license identifier. They're saying since OpenAPI 3.1.0 and FastAPI 0.999.0, you can also set the license info with an identifier instead of a URL. And I guess everybody who has been doing backend software development for a long time, this makes sense. Okay, we're just learning how to do it with FastAPI, but it's the same thing. Then they give an example, and this works in Python 3.8 and above. If I scroll, okay, the rest, all this is the same. Here we are with the identifier, okay, and it's MIT, having a value of MIT. And they're saying since OpenAPI 3.1 and FastAPI 0.99, you can also set the license info with an identifier instead of a URL. Okay, so instead of the URL, you put the actual license name. And MIT is actually very popular license, especially for you guys who have been working on open source projects and seeing projects on GitHub. You'll find the MIT license, a very common one. So they go on to tell us about the metadata for tags. They say you can also add additional metadata for the different tags used to group your path operations with the parameter OpenAPI tags. It takes a list containing one dictionary for each tag. So a list containing one dictionary. Each dictionary can contain a name, which is required, and this name is a string with the same tag name you use in the tags parameter in your path operation operators. It has a description, which is also a string with a short description for the tag. It can have markdown and will be shown in the docs UI. Then it has external docs, which is a dictionary describing external documentation with a description, which is also a string with a short description for the external docs. Then it has a URL, which is required. And they're saying this URL is a string with the URL for external documentation. Yeah, so yeah, one of the things that makes us good backend developers is when we can document our API effectively, okay? So usually actually people who are very careful when they're using APIs, they look for these kind of things, okay? And yeah, very important. It actually shows you actually professional, okay? If you create actually when I create my that project I'm telling you about, which we are going to start next week, and we shall start from scratch, okay? We shall start from planning, okay, listing the requirements. We shall design it together, okay? Then start from scratch, okay? Do this project structure together. Go on to step by step, okay? Do some sample ERDs here and there until, yeah, we keep designing and breaking and, until we reach to the end. Like I told you, I'll be doing the whole backend plus DevOps, okay? Then consume the front end. I mean, use the front end to consume the backend. So let's go on. Let's say create metadata for tags. Let's try that in an example with tags for users and items. Create metadata for your tags and pass it to the OpenAPI tags parameter. So you see this tags metadata, okay? They're simply showing us what they had here, okay? What they explained here, that the name, okay, the description, external docs, okay? So we have a name and a description. Okay, this is the first one. Then you have another one having the name, description, external docs. Okay. Then you say app because the first API, OpenAPI tags equals to tags metadata. Okay. Basic stuff. And if I come here, erase and paste, okay, and I go back, where is our awesome browser? Okay. And I get here, you see, no, I mean the browser, get here, refresh. Okay. So you see, this is how it looks like. If I look at external docs, look at what it does. Okay. So it essentially takes you to those other external docs. So let's go and finish this. Tip, you don't have to add metadata for all the tags that you use. Okay. Use your tags. Use the tags parameter with your path operations and API routers to assign them to different tags. Okay. I can't wait to register where we're going to create several API routers and merge them together. So they're saying from FastAPI import FastAPI, they're saying tags underscore metadata equals to, because you know this list of dictionaries, okay? And it can take a description, a name, and a description, a name, description, or external docs. Then we have the tags, okay? So they're saying use the tags parameter with your path operations and API routers to assign them to different tags. So that this tag is for users. This assigns this path operation to a tag to use. So in other words, they're just differentiating them using tags. This operation is tagged users and this operation is tagged items. Okay. So name users is tied to this one. Okay. Name items is tagged to this one here. Just saying read more about tags in path operation configuration. But I think we have done this. Okay. If I come here, maybe scroll, do this, refresh. Okay. Yeah, ideally same thing. Okay. Come back here. Okay. So you can see the operation, the description is already here. Okay. See that operations with users, the login logic is also here. Okay. If we go back here, we see this description, manage items, so fancy, they have their own docs. Okay. Look at the text, manage items, so fancy, they have their own docs. And this name items and users comes from this and this other one. Then they have, yeah, it's as simple as that. Then they're showing us that they have tagged them. So they're saying you read more about tags in path operation configuration. But yeah, like I said, we already know this. We studied this already. Check the docs. They're saying now, if you check the docs, they will show you all the additional metadata, okay? Which we've already seen. This above and this, okay? So this is important. Again, your people who are either mobile developers or web front-end developers will need this kind of information. Okay, so yeah, this is how you can add metadata for your tags. So data about data. So tags is data, and this information here, okay, is about this tag. So like for example, the metadata for users is this first dictionary here. How do I know that? Because of this name users. The metadata or the data about the data, which is in this case items, is this dictionary called with a key called items. That's how I get to know it. Okay. And of course, we have already seen the docs. And well, maybe I'm not showing you something else. This external docs, we can see it here. Okay. Items external docs. It's right there. Okay. But for them, they are passing. They're just pointing it to the official page for FastAPI, which is the same page we are on, the same site. So says order of tags. Say the order of each tag metadata dictionary also defines the order shown in the UI. For example, even though users would go after items in alphabetical item, although for example, even though users would go after items in alphabetical order, it is shown before them because we added their metadata as the first dictionary. So yeah, users appearing before items. Okay, users. So I guess if I switch, okay, items should come first. Let's try that. If I copy items and I paste it above like this and save, come back here, save. You see, items comes first. Then let me continue. This thing OpenAPI URL. By default, the OpenAPI schema is served at /openapi.json. What we saw earlier, when you click here, OpenAPI.json simply takes you to this OpenAPI schema. Okay, so you can cancel that and go back here. They're saying, but you can configure it with the parameter OpenAPI underscore URL. Okay, we're saying OpenAPI underscore URL equals to this. Okay, for example, to set it to be served at this, you simply change this. Let's try and you see what happens. I go back here up and what is it called? OpenAPI URL. So I'll add on top of the tags, I'll say comma OpenAPI URL equals to that. So OpenAPI URL equals to this string. If I save and I get back here, refresh, there we are. Okay, URL changed, but same data. Then at the end says if you want to disable the OpenAPI schema completely, you can set OpenAPI underscore URL equals to none. That will also disable the documentation. That will also disable the documentation user interfaces that use it. Okay, I want to see what happens if I disable it. I make it none, save, then get back here, refresh. You see, everything has been disabled. Okay, if I undo, interesting. So it disables everything even that uses it. Docs URL, you can configure the two documentation user interfaces included. The first one they're saying is Swagger UI served at docs. This is what we've been using all this time. Okay. If I come here to docs, this is the Swagger UI. Okay. You can set its URL with the parameter docs URL. You can disable it by saying docs URL equals to none. Okay. But I won't disable it. Okay. The same mode by simply coming and saying docs URL equals to none. We remove this stuff. Okay. If I come here and refresh, you see we cannot find it. They say ReDoc is served at /record at /redoc. You can set its URL with the parameter redoc underscore URL. You can disable it by setting redoc URL equals to none. Okay. So they're saying, for example, to set Swagger UI to be served at /documentation, disable and disable redoc. So docs URL be documentation redoc equals to none. But what I can do is I can maybe say, let me check to maybe docs URL to put my name. Say Nehe. Okay. Let's try it out. Okay. Then I come here. So this is maybe getting crazy. Okay. If I say Nehe, did I miss a forward slash? What's happening? It's taking time to load. I've missed a slash. You see? This is what happens when you WYSIWYG. Don't WYSIWYG like me. If I put a forward slash, okay, then I come back here. There we are. Okay. Looks fine. Okay. But of course, I shouldn't do this. I should leave it the way it is. Okay. Then the next one we have they're saying is redoc. Actually, we saw this, I think, the first time when we're dealing with FastAPI. Okay. These are the redoc docs. Okay. Interesting, right? It's for items, get items. Okay. Same stuff. Then, yeah. So that is it. Okay. If I say redoc none, it should also disappear. Where is this configuration? Redoc URL equals to none. Then I need to format this thing. Say black. Every time I try to format what? I want to delete this shell. Every time I come here when I want to format, I remember there's actually a better formatter, which is even faster. Can't open file. Oh, because of our structure. So it should be app main.py. Why is it not formatting? If I add a comma there at the end and format, it doesn't format. Why does it not format? They put the wrong file. Anyway, we're not going into that. I mean, in the rabbit hole. Yeah, but you get it, okay? ReDoc can be disabled. So if I go back to our browser and I refresh, you see ReDoc was disabled. And also for ReDoc, I can change the string to maybe call it, for example, if you're crazy, and maybe call it YouTube, okay? It just be / YouTube. So if I copy / YouTube and then come here and paste, it has to be / YouTube, okay? So that is it, okay? So yeah, pretty nice. Linus is asking a question. It says, what's the difference between Swagger UI and ReDoc? I guess just the way they display, okay? The way they display their user interface, okay? Both of them are simply user interfaces. Like they say here, they say, you can configure 2 documentation user interfaces. So just a style, okay? So Swagger was actually the first one, okay? One way is using Swagger, and ReDoc is another type. So they're just different ways of laying out documentation for an API. So this is the style that ReDoc follows, then Swagger follows the other one. But the end goal is to give you documentation for your API. So yeah, I can remove all these. Not relevant, save. So to get it back, I have to use ReDoc, okay? Or simply Swagger. Linus, I hope I've answered your question. Have I? Come on. For Swagger is docs, actually. It's docs, not Swagger. Yeah. So different ways of displaying the user interface for your API. I mean, for your API documentation. But same thing. All right. So thank you all for learning together with me. Linus, have you understood? All right. That's good. Good to know. So let's meet tomorrow the same time. Okay. Yeah, this was short. I didn't want to mix it. I know we haven't even spent 30 minutes yet. I would have used it maybe to go into the topics like static files, testing, debugging, but I didn't want to mix them. So let's meet tomorrow, okay, as we try to conclude this. So tomorrow we shall look at static files and testing, and if there's time, we can also go to debugging so that the weekend ends with us finishing the tutorial. Then next week we begin building the project. So yeah, tomorrow I'll not have a morning stream. I have something I need to deal with, but then in the evening, same time, we shall have a stream, okay? Well, we shall start from static files, we shall learn testing, and then debugging if time allows. So yeah, thank you for learning with me. Baby steps really count, and consistency. You can't imagine we began from right here. And now we did this, we're into the tutorial guide, we're done. And next week we shall be building the API. And again, yeah, entire API, including the DevOps, including consuming the API from a front end. That is like, I can say 60% built, and you'll see it next week. Yeah, so I can't wait for that. But again, step by step, let's meet tomorrow, okay? So thank you for learning with me today. Bye and see you tomorrow.